Hi, I'm Rich Kozak from Rich Brands. 49 years I've been languaging and defining brands and launching them. In the last 10, Rich Brands is evolving individuals' brands with deep clarity, energetic longevity, and divine purpose. Now is the time to define the brand you will become so that you can make your highest level impacts. If that resonates with you, pay attention and make sure you listen tight to this episode.
So, most branding experts will probably tell you to find your voice, but today's guest is literally the voice of impact-driven branding. I want you to meet Rich Kozak. Now, Rich, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm blessed, and thank you for having me. This will let people hear things they've never heard that will change their lives. This is good, so let's do this.
Well, I'm more than excited. I mean, when have you ever had a guy named Rich and a guy named Prosper all in the same sentence and having a talk and a chat around branding? And for those that are tuning in for the very first time, I want you to meet Rich Kozak, the man who spent nearly 5 decades giving brands the words, clarity, and divine purpose they didn't even know they were missing. Now, here's where it actually gets interesting. After decades of global branding, Rich actually took a sabbatical year to become the head chef in his home for his wife of 46 years. And he was correcting me earlier on. It's now 49 years, is it?
It is 49 years of marriage and 54 Valentine's Days coming up in February. We count them.
Absolutely, and congratulations for all of that. It must be a perfectly well set up brand that has allowed you guys to be able to last that long. I can't wait to figure that out. And in that time during his sabbatical, he actually realized he never stopped branding, but he just wasn't charging for it. And then
thanks for that, but okay, you're right.
And for something that I've already asked Rich about, but he's going to be telling us about, I did say he spent a year cooking, and well, there was a fire involved, personal setbacks, a faith testing journey. Later, he then stepped fully into his purpose, helping heart-centered entrepreneurs and professionals to evolve their brand into something that makes life-changing impact. So on today's episode on the Online Prosperity Show, we're going to be unpacking how to build a brand that is rooted on clarity and purpose, and also a brand that lasts for decades. And we're also going to be tackling some surprising misconceptions about branding that are actually costing people influence. And maybe we'll look into how your unique gifts can become the ultimate competitive advantage. And speaking of unique gifts, we were also just talking and riffing behind the scenes. I just discovered that Rich is actually, or was, a violinist and also a former rock band rebel, and the branding guy who might just be able to tell you what your business is truly about before you even know yourself. So I could go on and on, Rich, talking about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. So might as well just hear it from you. So before Rich Brands, before the fire, before the sabbatical, before everything else that comes along with it, just take us a little bit back. What was your life like, and what is it that actually really pulled you into the world of branding in the first place?
Wow, that's a great question. And you asked me how I was then. I said I was blessed. I feel that my upbringing, the family I was raised in, was a blessed environment. Both of my parents were teachers. My father was a university professor. He taught mathematics. He taught physics. He taught graduate level statistics. He turned kids into math teachers for high schools. But he also was a musician. In the college he taught before, he was the head of the music and the math departments. So he plays every instrument in the orchestra. He left his little violin out for me to find when I was 6. And I was hooked, and he said, well, your mother has to teach you to play piano first. My mom was graduated from Columbia in piano performance, so we had a grand piano in our living room. And so with parents who were teachers and educators and musicians, it was a very uplifting environment. If I was interested in something, the moment I said I was interested in something, I got support. That's not the way it is in a lot of people's upbringing. It wasn't mine. Whether I wanted to play on the tennis team or wanted to be in the orchestra or wanted to play in a jug band for the talent show or a rock band to play in fraternities, it's like what I got was, that sounds like a good idea, or how can we help you? So what a blessing. And I believe my mom's name should have been Grace. When she was 95 and in a rest home, she lived to be 105 months. But when she was 95, I had this wonderful conversation with her, and she was from the South. She has a little accent. I said, Mom, what was it like watching me doing dumb things and making mistakes as I was growing up? And she looked at me and she said, darling, I only remember the good things you did. Who gets a mom like that? Okay. So if that helps, that gives you some idea of what it was like. So if you ask me as a senior in high school, and I was involved in all kinds of stuff. I was involved in theater, I was involved in music, I was involved in sports, Model United Nations, district dramatics. It's like, I was like just busy as I could be. And if you ask me, it's like, what do you want to do? I would tell you I want to do everything. I want to bite as much of life off as I can chew. I want to live outside the country. I want to speak different languages. I eat different foods. I want to travel. I want to, But if you said, what do you want to be? I'd change the subject. I had no idea. Now think about that. A kid who at 16 is about to graduate from high school and didn't know what he wanted to be, became a global branding consultant in an agency with partners in 21 countries, instructing, literally, here are the steps, companies what they must become to be successful at their business strategies. That's ironic. Okay, and the irony of that never eluded me. And so the path from I don't know to global branding consultant included a degree in marketing and international business. It included working for a Fortune 50 company. Once I got finished the rock band thing, went back to school, got the degree, I went Fortune 50. So I learned what corporations are like. I learned from somebody who ran their international division for years, and he happened to be my mentor, and he would coach me through exactly how it worked in corporations. I was clueless. I had no idea. But I was coached by a guy who really cared. He was paternalistic, and he is really experienced in the company. And so after 7 years, I couldn't see my path in that company. And it wasn't anything about the company. I just felt like I didn't fit in that environment. And I wasn't aspiring to a particular, position, or I just couldn't see it. And I'm a guy that if I can see it, I can create it, even if it doesn't exist. We're all like that. Okay. I mean, let's not kid around. We're all like that. But I think I'm pretty strong in that area. It's like, if I can see something. So, I played in a rock band. We created a brand for the band, and language and look and feel and the music we were doing, which is kind of like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. A lot of voices. I was playing violin and viola and percussion and stuff like that. And I was doing all the business, writing all the contracts, arranging all the interviews. It was all the business of the stuff. But it's like so. from Fortune 50, I left, and somebody, when I finally left, I had become the president of the American Marketing Association in Southern California, and it was the 50th year. Speaking of 50th years, and so I leveraged that to meet every marketing senior executive in Los Angeles, which is where I was at the time, to invite them to come to get an award at the 50th. Okay, you get the idea. So it's like, and somebody who knew me from the AMA said, hey, why don't you come and work at my agency? Well, for a couple of years in the interim, I'd worked for a research agency, a research firm, calling on research managers and learning about the way big companies use a lot of product marketing research to develop products, to change categories, to release new products, those kind of things. Wasn't really where I fit the best, but I spent 2 years doing that. Then was invited to become an executive vice president at an ad agency. Well, I said to my friend, advertising it's the only area of marketing that I don't. He goes, stop right there. This is business to business. You have no idea what you're talking about. You come over, I'm going to share with you my dream. We had bought his agency from his father. It was 40 years old. It had a great reputation. And I became his executive vice president. So kind of his right hand. We eventually became partners in the what was called the BBN, based in Europe, founded by a bunch of agencies just like ourselves, diehard business to business agencies, been together a long, long time. And they codified the process of eliciting the foundation of the brand from those who had created it, so that a brand could travel from country to country. So, you elicit the brand, you get real familiar with what it means, why they created it, where they're going, and then you are the agency that inherits it in the United States. Are you kidding me? What a riot. I love that. Look, so here's the like, at 50 years old, which was 22 years ago, by the way, at 50 years old, I was doing all-nighters because I would get home and email my European partners. Then I would get up early and I was doing all-nighters. Literally. So here's a situation. This was a change point, because you're going to ask me this, and I've already answered the question. Here you go. This was one of the huge change points. At 3:16 in the morning, I'm in my office, and I knew I had to leave. It's the 9th floor of a high rise right at the end of Wilshire Boulevard, looking right up the Malibu coast. What a great office, a corner office looking right up that curve of palm trees. It's beautiful. But I knew I had to get out of there to get down to the parking garage, to get in my car, to drive home, get a shower, shave, change suits, get ready, get in my car, drive another hour to get to that boardroom at the $14 billion company to say, gentlemen, my name is Rich Kozak from Young Company, and I'm here to share with you the vision of how we see that you can engage the customers that you're developing now that will lead you to your strategic future, and how you can affect the first impression you have on them in a different way than you do now. And I'm shaving. And I look in the mirror, I'm overweight. I stayed up all night. And I made a decision. I changed my prayer to, Lord, I am resigning this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. So that's the branding guy that you've got with you here at our wonderful new tag team that's going to go on the road as Rich and Prosper. No, I love that fact that you're listening to Rich and Prosper right now. That's crazy good. Okay.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for taking us through to that journey. And wow, you just left us with that cliffhanger of 14 million, you shaving. We're going to go right back to that. But I wanted us to go back a little bit, because 6-year-old Rich is growing up amongst people that are accomplished in their own space, people that are doing, crazy good in their own right. Was there any expectation for you to actually do well as a kid growing up amongst your dad, your
Well,
mom?
yeah, both of my parents were teachers, and so there was a respect for education. My mother had an undergraduate degree and a master's degree. My father had an undergraduate degree that he paid for himself during the Depression. He cooked for a fraternity to earn his way through college and graduated cum laude. It's like, what?
Right.
He got 2 master's degrees, one in physics and one in music, and a doctorate in education. So, so education is kind of important. The do well, I think because of my church background, both my parents are Christians. Dad he was the first child of Czech immigrants. My mom was the second daughter of an English, Scotch, Irish mix, but my dad's mom and dad both were from Moravia. And so they were Catholic and when they came over here, this pastor switched to a Presbyterian. So they were going to a Presbyterian church with multiple languages, Czech one Sunday, Italian and on Sunday. So, and my mom was Southern Baptist. So Presbyterian and Southern Baptist, they're both Christian. They ended up what I would call neutral ground. They chose Methodist church, open hearts, open minds, open doors, right, Methodist church. And so I was raised Methodist. I think the expectation is more do good than do well.
Okay.
Dad was not an investor. He didn't sit me down and say, so here's how you play the stock market. He didn't do that. He was never in a corporation. He couldn't teach me that. Mom wasn't either. Mom was a school teacher. She taught elementary and secondary ed and English in junior high and high school, and she taught music. These are not. They were both very worldly people because of their interests and their ability to articulate language and what they read, but they weren't Wall Street people. They weren't business people. They weren't entrepreneurs. Dad's father was an entrepreneur, but I never met him. He was gone long before I came along. So it's like, it was more the expectation to do good because of who we are and what God expects of us. Look, the book I read every morning still says we're here for 2 reasons and everything else is man-made. 2 reasons are share love. This is in a lot of ways. Share love and praise God. We don't get those right. We got to go back to number 1. Get the love thing right?
Absolutely.
Everything else is man-made. So that's kind of, hey, when it came to college, I tried to push the envelope and I said, Dad, I think I want to go to Columbia, because my mom went to Columbia. It's an Ivy League school now, right? Not when it was a teacher's college, but it's an Ivy League school. I'm like, I want to go. He goes, I'm not signing it. He said, you don't know what you want to do. If you don't know what you want to do, just go to Penn State where I teach. It's a lot cheaper. Stay at home, make some money. And when you figure it out, we'll talk, So I was angry for about 10 minutes, I think, but it's like, it made a ton of sense. And that's what I did. I ran a business, and I ended up playing in bands and making great money and traveling with the band, because when our band cut a record and started tour, and I left school as a senior with a 3.57 average to go in the studio and record an album on our own record label. Mistake. It's a favor business, and nobody owes you any favors if you didn't ask for any or didn't get any. It's like, so we were doing it all ourselves and thinking we were like hot shots, but okay.
So
But
remind me, Rich, so that when we decide to do anything, we don't start a band. The Rich and Prosper.
right. Yeah. Well, look, here's the wonderful. I am so glad I got that out of my system.
Mm,
I don't know if you know people who are in their 50s or 60s and they have a garage band and they're like still playing heavy metal music, kind of living the dream. It's like, oh
still,
dear.
still on the high that they had at that particular time.
Oh,
So,
yipes.
so now that I
Yeah.
have a bit of an insight into what it was like in the Kozak household, because obviously certain things will be influenced by your growth pattern, right? And
Yeah.
if we then move into what's now coming next, now you left us looking in the mirror and you're
Yeah.
shaving. You were about to go and close a $14 billion deal, but you were actually asking for a whole different outcome from that.
Yep.
Walk us through, what then went on to that, because you left
Wow.
doing it for corporates and you went on and started doing it for individuals now.
Oh, good. Yeah. So the person who ran the agency, remember, he had invited me and he was a friend of mine and we had been, and look, I was there for 17 and a half years.
Mm.
Okay. And
Wow.
so most decisions, a lot of the big clients, a lot of the execution of the plans I was involved in, and I was kind of head of new business. I mean, we're all headed, but my job was to court the companies and get in front of them and let them know what we're doing, defining and languaging brands and evolving them to their next level in a way that they could say like, wow, yeah, why don't you come in and talk to us and fall in love with us and then earn their business at a time when the industry was shifting from the old model, which was selling advertising in magazines. Business to business was magazines. Consumer was TV, but we weren't selling TV. There was business to business, right? So it was magazine. And taking a mission on the advertising, that was going away because the internet was, magazines were disappearing. And so the new model was selling services for fees like brand development. So I became quite good at teaching the process of branding to corporate executives who thought branding was airy fairy BS and, creative, stuff and like, it wasn't engineering and it wasn't law and it wasn't accounting. It was just, the marketing stuff, yeah. And when you look them in the eye and say, look, you guys build pipelines through jungles. You just finished building a platform in the North Sea. You just finished building a pharmaceutical factory in New England. Branding is exactly like what you guys do. It's project management. And if you leave steps out, it doesn't work. You got that? And companies leave steps out. And gentlemen, you are leaving steps out. And here are the steps you're leaving out. It's like, that was the wake-up call, guy. They either love me or hated me, but mostly when we said, look, do you know what your customers are saying? And they would lean in. I mean, I loved it. And I was really good at it. But they didn't know what branding was. And to enlighten them so they understood that branding is steps, that certain things get to occur, and when they occur, it works a lot better. So is marketing, but marketing is execution. Branding comes first. By the way, I mean, that's one of those things we really get to touch on. And when we're going to talk about less suffering and mistakes people make, that's one of the things we're going to talk about. The misprioritizing marketing and branding is like, whoa, it's number one. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. Now, I've worked with a lot of people, and I'm in marketing myself, right? And people, whenever we're sitting in a boardroom, they just relegate us to the place where there's coloring and crayons and things like that. Now, for those who just think branding,
It's like the little kids at church get to sit.
exactly. For those
funny.
that just think branding is just maybe we've got our logo, we've got our colors, we've got our themes. What else?
Yeah, what are we paying you for again?
How do you set them straight, Rich?
That's a phenomenal question. What really worked was to reframe how they understood branding. Now, I'm going to do this on purpose with companies who were many of those companies were private because it's business to business, but many of them were public. We had some big public companies, and they were on the stock market, and they're responsible to drive stock price. So branding for them, or what the agency did, was getting credit, launching new products, taking market share. It's money driven. Big boy, let's call it big boy branding. Okay, it's money driven. It's market share. Well, what's market share? Money. Okay, if you have 90%, you're going to make more money than if you have 10%. Let's get around. So and things like brand preference. So creating an ad campaign that generated. There's a difference between just awareness and unaided awareness. You're like, hey, who do you know in the rental uniform space? If they don't say your company's name, you don't have any unaided awareness because they can't even think of it. And so those kind of marketing execution campaigns had to do with moving the metric needle, and it all ties to money. Okay? Today, for the last 10 years, and when you're teaching those leaders, CEOs, vice presidents of marketing, and the people, Marcom people, teach about the process of branding, you make it clear that the connection between doing the steps and getting the outcome that comes from the steps and what their target objective is: market share, awareness. Yeah, okay, you got to connect those dots. So for the last 10 years, I have only worked with individuals. I'm still sharing with them what branding is, what individuals' brands are, and I share it, and I will do it right on this call. I will do it right now for you listening to this, so you understand in a different way what your individual brand is. Because what you think it is not what it is.
But why does that matter? What are the reasons why somebody should suffer to go through all of that in order to discover what their brand is?
Well, let me be very specific. So if you're listening to this right now, please write this down. Write it in your own language. My brand. Now, that brand might be you personally, your name. Maybe you're the expert, or you're the author, or you're the speaker, or you're the coach, or you're the whatever. Or it might be an entity, an organization that you've created that is yours. Or it may be both. You personally, as an individual, may be the, let's call it, visionary founder of the entity. Fine. It could be either or both. All right. Your brand is, write this down. My brand is a perception. Write that down. My brand is a perception. Keep writing, but it's not my perception. That's the reframe. Your brand is the perception in the mind of your most important target audiences. Those individuals, those organizations that you can clearly see impacting with your work, your business, your product, your service, your gift, whatever you call it, your calling. You clearly see the impacts, and you really want to make them. It's those people, it's those targets, those companies, those industries, maybe those types of leaders, whomever you clearly see impacting, it's their perception. That's your brand. We're not talking about people that live 20,000 miles away and they love to pet animals in the wilderness. You don't care about them. Sorry, I don't have anything don't have anything against animals. Really, I love animals. Okay, but if animals are your brand, then I'm sorry if I offended you. But the point is this: your brand is what you care about and what you get to impact, what you get to shape, is the perception in the mind of those whom you most care about impacting and really want to impact.
So if it's their perception, I can't shape that.
No, you can. All those. So let's ask if my brand is their perception, what is branding? It's all those things, and none of us have enough money or time to do them all. Even big companies. Those things that we do to shape a consistent perception in the minds of our most important target audiences. That's what branding is. And you've got choices.
What I do is my business. What they think is their business. And that's the mindsets that people already think. What do you say to that now, Rich?
Well, when you say, hey, tell me about your brand, and they go, well, it's named for a Greek horse from mythology. And, you probably never heard of him, but, he went up the hill and then he swam the river. And you're like, stop. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what they think. Those people whose businesses or lives or relationships or company that you most want to impact, it's what they think. That's your brand. So if you're the most honest person in the world and they think you're a crook, you are a crook in their eyes. If you think you are buttoned up and they think you're loose and you let things drop through cracks, hey, perception is reality to them. Your job is to shape a consistent perception in the minds of those you most care to impact. There you go. That is a different understanding of branding. And when you use that and know that there's a process of steps that ensure that you impact those lives and the world you touch, it's a different world. The people that work with us as we go through defining and languaging brands that overcome all these issues and problems, and we'll talk about, what some of those are, because we said less struggle. One of the reasons you're listening to this show is to have less struggle, to get understanding of things you can do or stop doing that will be a blessing or benefit to your business and maybe your life. So we're going to make sure that occurs. Start with understanding you get to shape a consistent perception in the minds of those you most care about impacting, and that is branding. And now we can go from there and say, well, how do we do that?
That's where I was going to say, because you've brought us right nicely into that. How do we do that?
Let's take one thing that's really common. Actually, okay, I'll do two things, okay? And these, I know they're common because people say them all the time. And I don't mean the same people say them the same people say it over and over. I mean, if I talk to somebody today, they'll say it. I talk to somebody tomorrow, they'll say the same thing. They sound like this. I'm going to reel off a bunch, but the two I'm going to focus on are, we need better ways to say what we do. They do it. But seriously, we need better ways to say what we do. That's number one. And the other one is, we don't know how to position ourselves to charge what we're worth. It's a positioning thing. We don't know how to position ourselves to charge what we're worth. I'll add a third one. We don't get credit for what makes us really outstanding. We don't get credit for what makes us really outstanding. It might be said, they get credit. We should be getting the credit. We're so much better than they, but they're getting the credit. Like somebody else is getting the credit, but we're the best at that. We don't get credit for what makes us really outstanding. So there's three. We need better ways to say what we do. We don't get credit for what makes us really outstanding. And we don't know how to position ourselves to charge what we're worth. Those are real. They're real for big companies. They are particularly real for solopreneurs. So those individuals whose brands we are evolving so they can make their highest level impacts by evolving the perception, the brand, by evolving the perception of what they individually or their company are capable of, are ready to do, are qualified to do, are uniquely set to do. Evolving the perception so they are welcomed in to make those higher level impacts. That's what we do these days. We're evolving individuals' brands with deep clarity. It's what's missing. A couple different kinds with deep clarity and energetic longevity so they can do for more decades what they love and divine purpose. Now, let me stop on divine purpose. That's not hype. Somebody said to me on my last interview, they said, I said, it sounds like what you do is just like regular branding, except you added God. I didn't say anything. My neuro-linguistics programming almost kicked in, and I almost went to what we call sleight of mouth, which would have been sound like sarcasm, but I didn't. So I will say this. The reason I say and divine purpose is this. For the last 10 years, I've been working only with individuals. The first 3 years, certain things developed, and since then, we've watched people do 3 things instead of 2 things. Our tagline used to say, accelerating your impacts and, making your brand come alive. We've always been doing that. Brands fall flat. Most brands fall flat. Yours probably does. Most brands fall flat. That's nice. What do you do? Well, I do. Oh, that's nice. Versus, wow, I gotta go, but can I have your card? Okay, most brands fall flat. So if you, when you understand that there are certain things that you get to do that you can make your business really thrive. In the branding are certain steps to make sure you get credit, to make sure you can charge what you're worth. But our businesses are not necessarily why we were created. They're a vehicle. We didn't create ourselves. We're all created by the same creator for a reason, for purpose. We have a purpose. If we ask, we might get closer faster. If we think we're in control, you might not get there as fast. But it's like we all have the same opportunity to make the biggest, most significant impact on the world we touch with the gifts we've been and the power we've been given. And we've all been given unlimited power. We just hold ourselves back and, become a barrier for ourselves. We have unlimited power and we have unique gifts. And so when we use this process to get clarity and thrive at our businesses, it also creates a platform that makes it much easier to step into why we're really here. Let's call that our umbrella brand. It's the highest level impact that we're here to create. And as we're doing the other brand, that the question is always, what's that umbrella? That's going to be a wake-up call for many of you. You've never even heard that term, umbrella brand, and it's not a new kind of branding. You could call it whatever you want. Top-level brand, highest-level impact brand. It's the brand that gets credit for everything you are. The things you do are just spokes in the umbrella. You could be an expert at this, or a speaker at this, or an author. Or you're a dad. You play cello. You speak multiple languages. You're a cook. It's like all these things. But the umbrella brand is your highest level impacts. What is that umbrella? If that plants a seed of intrigue and of something you resonate with, I want you to hear more. I want you to take advantage of knowing there is a process. There are steps that ensure your brand impacts people's lives in the world. And I'm not sure that what you do for a living or what your work is or what your business is your highest level. You can make that thrive in a new way at a new level, but there are millions of entrepreneurs who want to turn a life of impacts. They might have been making impacts for 20 years, into a story of legacy.
Mm.
How do you do that? Look, it's just steps. It's just steps.
Absolutely. We're going to go into the steps a little bit soon. But Rich, would that be the reason why a lot of people are burning out? Because they are probably really, really putting gas on smaller versions or smaller brands of them without really looking at the umbrella brand that you're talking about. Because let's say you are the CEO and then you put so much of you in there, but you're a really good chef, you're a really good husband, you're a really good, they're not bringing their whole self into everything that they're doing. Is that what I'm understanding from what you're saying there?
Well, it's an intriguing question, and I'll deal with it directly. For an entrepreneur, who's the one you described, an individual entrepreneur who's really good at, they've been really focused on their business owner, been really focused on that, and they just get burned out. They lose their spark. They lose their desire. It might be because they don't see what they're after. It's just more of the same tomorrow. The moment that they open their vision and realize there is so much more that they get to do because of the gifts they've been given, it could light a new fire under that same person, and they go from burned out to absolutely inspired and aspiring. New language, new resonance, same gifts. If they're corporate, if they work for someone else, it many times burnout is a hamster wheel phenomenon, where they're being asked by a, let's call it, profit-centric entity to do more with less. That causes burnout. A social worker that works for a hospital that's asked to take on a higher caseload, and they didn't even have time for the caseload they had. That causes burnout. And that happens to people who work for companies that want more out of people, and they just get to a point where they say, I'm done. I'm out of here.
But
I'm off in the lane.
But if you know what your umbrella brand would be, would that help for you to actually
help? No, help? Are you kidding me? That'll light your rocket. It's like, yeah. And being able to, I'll give you an example. One of the clients that I had met him 5 years ago, I guess, and we were friends, but he wasn't a client. And he was kind of finally ready. He had lost his wife from a disease called lupus. Mm-hmm. And she had been taking medicine that she was prescribed. And he said to me when he met us, even the doctors said that the medicine was part of the problem. And he was in this, like, it's time to take control of our health and not just take pills and take pharmaceuticals and get surgery. And it's like there's all these alternatives. There's all these natural things. Like I'm gonna take better control of my health and how I eat and how I exercise and what I put in my body every day. And he became, let's call it, a holistic health. It had a new health style. Let's call it. He had a more holistic health style. That's fair enough. Well, he was fascinated about the brain, so he got certified with the Daniel Amen Institute. So he understands things about how we can literally make our brain sharper even as we get older. Wait a minute. That's not supposed to happen. Yeah, right. It's not, right? Yeah, but he also started studying stem cells, because stem cells are what God put in our body. It's those generic cells in the bloodstream. When something gets hurt, or you get damaged, or you get injured, that area says, hey, we need stem cells to redo this bone. Hey, the liver's not doing well. Send some stem cells down here. And the stem cells go to the area, they call them, and become that, system. It's like, what? Yeah, stem cells. And adults don't make as many after a certain age. So Barry, the man, studied and started working with a company that for 15 years had been selling nutraceuticals that enable the human body to make more of its own stem cells through natural things that triggered stem cells to, to be produced. So he does all these things, but then he got involved in another area of health. So when he tried to explain what he does, it was a hodgepodge.
No,
You want to hear his umbrella brand?
let's hear what he says.
Barry is hold on a second. I have the uncanny ability to jump from person to person, but I am not going to get this wrong. I need to look up the exact language because I don't want to get this wrong. So his umbrella brand that is over all of the things he does, all this holistic health, his umbrella brand is mindful longevity. So the man speaking at the Better Life Conference is the founder of the legacy brand Mindful Longevity. Renew, rejuvenate, revitalize, offering holistic health mentoring that empowers lives.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I want some of that. Okay. So the point is that brands need 4 things to come alive. If you're listening to this, if you don't have those 4 things, you're going to fall flat. That's it. So you need 4 things. And one of them is unique language that transfers energy. Or the man speaking at the, take care of if you do, at the World Self-Care Conference is an expert at mindful longevity, experiencing a younger brain as you age. And people are like, what? What? Is that even possible? Well, what time is he speak? What, or they meet him in the elevator and he says that and they go, I got to go, but can I have your card? Because it transfers energy. Holistic health mentoring that empowers lives. We're at a point that we know we need to take our health more into our own hands. We know there are natural options. We know we can go down the street into a hyperbaric oxygen therapy pod and fill every cell in our body with oxygen. And the cancer's anaerobic. You do the math. It's like, there's all these things we can do. I have an infrared sauna here at the Brand Ranch. I go in there, it heats me up, weak cells die. Yeah. Jerry, that's really a blessing during COVID. Let me tell you something. It's like, viruses and things and cancer cells, they don't make it when you superheat the body. There are things we can do. And so, but Barry, it was a mess until it wasn't. And the work we did to understand what happens when he does what he does, what people get, who gets what, and saying it in ways that are very brief and very to the point and not double talk. And the people that are the who's go, I want that. Really?
Yeah. So if you're going to be saying something that's different, and you've mentioned neurolinguistics, so it creates somewhat of a pattern break, right? Where people are already saying certain things and the conversation in their head then gets disrupted by that particular new way of calling out something. Now, there needs to be a lot of trust in that. People need to trust that what they're hearing is going to work. Yes, they might be energized by those words, but there needs to be a lot of trust. What my question now is, what's one invisible maybe mistake that you see entrepreneurs making with their brands?
Oh man, you hit the nail on the head on this one. Trust is when you break it, you can't buy it back. You know what I mean? If you cross the credibility line, if people go, I'm not buying it, I just don't believe it. When you cross the credibility line, or you say one thing and then you say something else, and you exaggerate, and all of a sudden people mark you as an exaggerate, you can't go back. So trust is huge. The one thing that it's the most common thing. It's inconsistency. Inconsistency in how you say what you do. Inconsistency in the way you say the results that you create. Inconsistency in the way you say who you are. Inconsistency in the way you look. Inconsistency in the way you're introduced. Inconsistency. I'm going to keep going. When consistency across the board is not there, you break trust. That's it.
Because and like you said, it's something that's going to be very difficult to gain and stuff like that. Now, if somebody's listening to this and they're intrigued about your unique ways in helping them brand themselves, where can they go to on the internet to find you?
Well, on the internet, just go to richbrands.org. Don't go to .com. You'll get a trading company in Nigeria, and it's not me. Go to Rich Brands, RICHBRANDS.org. Now, when you're there, right there on the homepage, you'll see two things. It'll say, get the free brand FAQ videos. There's 18 minutes of videos that answer basic questions. It'll be a real blessing to you. It's free. You download. And the other one says, talk to Rich for 30 minutes. Now, if you're not ready to tell me about you, or to say, this is my challenge, or I wish I had a way through this, or if you're not ready to talk to me directly, please do not get on my calendar. But you're allowed to. I don't want to joke about this, but people say to me, you've been doing this for 49 years. Why aren't you on a beach or on a yacht? You know where I am?
You're in a range.
I'm on Zoom. Hey, I don't care where you are in the world, go to richbrands.org, click talk to Rich for 30 minutes, and I will listen and share perspective about possibilities I see for your brand. I'll listen to things you say you're doing. I might look at things while we're together. And I'll tell you, I literally had somebody who's a world-class athlete in a particular area. It had to do with wind. And she got on and told me she needs exactly what I'm doing. And she showed me her website, and I had to tell her all the things that are on there that are hurting her. She had no idea. Because she wasn't made of the stuff that, nobody gave her branding class. She just had somebody do stuff, and people do things that hurt them, like inconsistency. If you, you just lose it, and they don't come back.
Absolutely. No, Rich, if you look at the world we live in today, and you're talking about you could be anywhere else in the world, you could be in any geographical location, you know what that presents? Okay, it presents different cultures, different mannerisms, and it also presents different ways of dealing with certain people, where as we have been on the way up, we are always told to just focus on the one thing, focus on the one niche, focus on that one particular thing, which limits us to everything else that we can use to connect with the people we're going to be talking about. What's your sort of comment to that? Because a lot of people might be just presenting what, like you said, the perception of what they think, not the perception of everybody else.
Well, may I reflect? I'm not going to share opinion. I'm going to reflect. I've seen a lot. I've been in the online space now since just before COVID. And I've been in the rooms the real rooms, at the hotels for 15 years before that. So if you looked at my library, you'd see stuff from all the people you've heard who are big speakers and big authors, but I've been in all their rooms. And then COVID hit and I went into the virtual event business. So I'll just say it this way. It is common for coaches who want clients and they want to give the clients fast results to tell them they need to pick you use the word, I don't use it. They need to pick, one little, thing, right? And it's not realistic. Every client that comes through here, we ask them to ask your heart. Whom do you clearly see impacting? Who does your heart give you first? So we describe that. Then we say, ask your heart for another one. Well, the first one could have been a young person. The second one could be an old couple. The third could be somebody who was wealthy. The fourth could be somebody who, the resources were an issue. There's not one. It's not realistic. And you don't need 20. And if you let your brain trick you and it says, oh, you can do this for anybody, that's not good either. Okay? Because then you don't get anything. But the reason coaches do that is because it makes their job easier. And although it's true that the narrower you are, the easier it is for somebody who's in that narrow location, in that arrow, whatever, to realize you're the one. Let's go out a year after that. What's the perception of you? Are you getting credit for your highest level impacts? No, because you're in a pigeonhole. So the world is filled with successful business owners and entrepreneurs, professionals. And I do mean professional, doctors, people that have certified, professions, right? Who know they're not done. If you ask them so are you going to retire? They go, all right, no, I'm not going to run my clinic anymore, but man, there's so many other things I want to do. They know they're not done. They want to make new impacts, broader impact, higher level. They want to go more spiritual. They want to go a different culture. They want to share their wisdom with new target audience. But they don't know how to evolve how they're perceived.
And that keeps them stuck
And branding people who sell happy faces and superhero costumes are not the best solution for them. Shh. Okay, you don't need a frickin' superhero costume. What you need is your heart. When it comes from your heart and you say, hey, heart, whom do I really want to impact? Who put that in there? Did you put that in there? I didn't put it in there. Your branding dude didn't put it in there. I think God put it in there. So when I changed my prayer and said, Lord, show me what you want me to do, it took me a while. I'm sitting in a choir loft and I just finished helping 3 individuals 1 month after another, number 1, number 2, number 3, to help define their brands and, set them straight and give them a track, give them a strategic roadmap and all that kind of stuff. And I've been using the same process we used with the big companies, except I did it on the personal level and I used their heart. And what I realized was helping people extract from their heart and their mind's eye the impacts they clearly see making. They already clearly see it. When they thrive, it may be in the future, there's not thriving now, but in the future when they thrive at what they do, they can see the impacts they're going to make and they really want to make those impacts. We just define in language the brand they must become to make those impacts. Well, how do we do that? Well, we say, to make that impact, because they write them down, to make that impact, what must you get credit for? You must get credit for being patient. Oh, you must get credit for being technology centric. Oh, you must get credit for being, it's like credit is marketing. But the definition and languaging of a brand is strategic. And when it comes from your heart and the impacts you clearly want to make, it's always 100% congruent with you. So you don't need the superhero costume. Get it?
I love this so much. And
Did that land? Because I hope it landed, people.
it did.
Seriously. I mean, people think, well, we have a new brand, a look and a line. Oh, or a campaign. They think a campaign or the name of their Facebook group, or they think it's a brand. I already told you what your brand is. It's not what you think. It's what they perceive. And you get to shape that. But you got to do it consistently across the board, and you have to start clean, and you can't change it up. You can evolve it, but you can't do it one way today and another way tomorrow. You hire a person, they do it one way today and the other tomorrow. You don't know what to expect, and you don't trust them. And that happens to brands. You create confusion, misinformation. You don't get credit for what makes you outstanding. You waste a lot of money on marketing. We tried this, but the marketing didn't work. It's not the marketing that didn't work. You didn't define the language of the brand so that your marketing could completely congruently execute to shape that perception.
No,
I'm sorry I'm making this sound so simple, but it's not it's not a mind bender. It's the process is a little bit rigorous because it takes time, but hey, life is rigorous. What's the value of a year if you create more confusion? What's the value of that year to you? 100 grand? 10,000? 3,000? $1 million?
You're not talking of peace of mind.
Do you know you have another year? I mean, come on. We don't know how long we have. Okay. And so you're going to ask me to leave people with something. I'm going to leave you right now. Write this down. I'm going to point that finger to you. Now is the time to define the brand you will become. That's it. What's the umbrella?
Now is the time to define the brand you want to become. And I visually believe you told us something, and I don't know if you've actually connected this to your message. What did Mama Kozak tell you when you asked her? Yeah?
Go ahead.
You told us that Mama Kozak said she only remembers.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly. Oh, yeah, it's funny.
If you work in accordance to, who you are and the best version that you can, the impact that you will do, the perception and the people that you're trying to do it for will only remember the good things.
Praise God. Mom, thanks. It took Prosper and several years to bring that one back to me, so I heard it differently. That's remarkable. Yeah. And imagine, is that possible? Well, when you buy a new car, you look around and all of a sudden you see all the same car around. You go, wow, everybody's buying the new car. When you make a decision, you reinforce. It's called post-purchase consonance. Okay. And so when people experience a brand and they like it, they might give that brand grace and they'll remember the good things. Good for you. Wow, Prosper.
I think we're done here.
Well, we've certainly hit the top of a mountain. That's for sure. Good for you. Look, my book, I don't control when it will publish, but it's being prepared for the publisher right now. We'll want to make sure that that the channels know it's coming and that it's in stores and so forth. So, it could be a year from now, but I'll be showing the cover within a couple of months, and maybe we'll do another one.
You're gonna have to come back for the book. You're gonna have to come back for the book, and then we'll go deeper into the concept. But I feel like today we just needed to remember the good things.
And, from my heart to you and to your audience, I don't have to write the book. I don't even have to do what I'm doing. I get to do this. I believe I was made for this. I believe, the reason my calendar is full from 8 in the morning to 9 at night with people sometimes I don't even know them, and a lot of clients that happen one after another, and I'll introduce them to each other, is because I get to. It's not because I have to or even that I want to. I actually get to. I am made for this. My journey has prepared me perfectly for this. What a blessing. And I am so grateful for it. And so the book is not a book about branding. We don't need another book about branding. What we need is to understand what it really is. And when you know that impact-driven branding is a process, and there are 7 steps that ensure your brand impacts people's lives and the world you touch, you can use it. And I'm just going to hand those steps to the world and say, hey, use it. Now, people can come to the live events and the online events that we have and hear me speak at places and, coach with me one-on-one or in big groups or doing Brand Accelerator Mastery, which literally gets it's a program we have that defines and languages all the aspects of your brand within like 3 months. It's a few solid days within those 3 months and then time for back and forth. But it's such a blessing. And it's how a doctor who thinks his brand he's the stress guy, becomes the founder of an institute that teaches young people the process and language of life mastery for generations.
I
It's the
would
same
want
guy, but he didn't come in with that. He left with it.
I would want to christen that a Kozak moment. When you really get into your essence, and after you've gone through the steps and everything else that comes along with it.
When the creative, it's a word creative, it's like, how do we say your umbrella brand? What do we name it? It's not trick. It's how did we name Barry's mindful longevity? Renew, rejuvenate, revitalize.
Absolutely. Now,
There was a lot of words on that paper until we went, I think we've got it, but we need to say what it does. Holistic health mentoring that empowers lives. Because there are people, I just get a chill down my spine when I say it. There are people that'll go like, whoa, hey, wait a minute, what? I want that. And I don't even know what it is. What's in there? Yeah.
Absolutely. Rich, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today. I mean, your life story and your experience and the value that you bring to the table, because the more people are not known for what they're doing, it's grand opening, grand closing. And that's the reason.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a heartbreak.
So many businesses are failing because nobody really knows what they do. And I can't thank you enough. And you've already pledged that you're going to be coming back on tour with the book, the online prosperity show.
Thank you very much. I accept. What a blessing. Yeah.
Fantastic. For those that are watching right now, if today's conversation with Rich gave you your own Kozak moment, I think it's actually one of those you need to rewatch again. And I know for sure it will have made you realize that your brand might be more than that best kept secret. But it is a magnetic force that will actually really help you be doing have a happier existence. And as Rich says, now is the time to change that. Okay, there's no reason for you to be that best kept secret. You really need to show up into the world that people are waiting and yearning to hear what it is you can do for them. So I encourage you to head out to reachbrands.org. I'll put all those links in the show notes and explore the 7 steps of impact driven branding. And also there's a free branding FAQs And as Rich has said, only reach out to him on his calendar call if you're ready to have a chat. And I hope you will be able to build a brand that actually leaves a legacy. But before you go, I've just been told in our next episode, we're going to be talking about ideas that will allow you to have happier existence, not just a busy one. So you definitely don't want to miss it. And I also encourage you to share this episode with somebody whose brand really deserves to be seen. All right.
Please. Yeah, absolutely.
Because so many people are just showing up in the world and nobody really knows what it is that they do. And if somebody has shared this video with you, just give them a hug because they really want you to win this game. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe for more conversations that will help you build a brand that's profitable, impactful, and enjoyable. Until next time, bye for now.